Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Barnstable Waterways Committee meeting for Tuesday, September the 4th. Present for the Town of Barnstable, we have the Harbor Master, Brian Taylor, Deputy Harbor Master, Jay Horn, and Pam Swider-Cohen, who's the Principal Assistant. Waterways Committee members present are Greg Egan, Todd Volantis, Gary Schramick, and myself, Paul Everson. And I think we've got a pretty full agenda. So before we get going, I just have to advise that the notice of recording this meeting is being recorded tonight by Channel 18 and broadcast on Channel 18 and in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. I must inquire if anyone else is taping or recording this meeting. If so, please make their presence known. Okay. And we'll act on the minutes first of August 27th, 2024. Has everybody had a chance to read those?
Make a motion to approve August 27th minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we get everybody. Let's move on to, we have a notice of intent. Joseph Jenkins, trustee for Bluff Point, 199, trust number 2, 128 Bluff Point Drive in Katuitt. It's map plat 034/069, Town of Barnstable, Griffin, Bourdoin, 180 Ocean Street, Hyannis. And the applicant proposes to remove dislodged fiber rolls from the 2014 project, install a 290-foot linear fiber roll array along the eroding portion of the coast and nourishment with compatible sediment over fiber rolls to the beach area. Relocation of existing deck and utilities adjacent to the access steps to the beach and remove and replacement of the access steps for fiber roll installation, all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping required for the proposed work. Pam, when I read this thing, is there something mixed together here? Or why did we have Mr. Bourdoin's name on that? I didn't quite catch that. Or if we could just go back one page.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I think the 180 Ocean Street is a mistake. I think that's from last month's agenda.
Okay, so that just got mixed in.
That's just a typo. We're talking
Okay.
128 Bluff Point Road.
Okay. All right.
Yep. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you. Let's just make sure that, we're looking at, yeah, there's Bluff Point. Okay. Do we have anybody representing the project?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Seth Wilkinson from Wilkinson Ecological Design here on behalf of the applicants.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Go right ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. I admittedly do a lot more Conservation Commission meetings than Waterways, so if I'm stepping out of order, please let me know. Would you like me to share my screen with the plan?
Sure.
Okay, just would need that function enabled by the host.
Yep. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
You are Seth Wilkinson.
Yes.
Okay, so you're all set.
Great. Okay, so here is site plan coming up. Merrill Engineering was the engineers in the project. Tim's not able to be here tonight. I think he's out of the country. But we're the designers for the actual fiber roll array, as referenced in the notice. Peter Sullivan originally designed this fibril array back in 2014. My company, Wilkinson Ecological, installed the array a decade ago, and it did well for its service life, which at the time sort of ranged from 7 to 10 years. It made it the full 10 years, and the storms last winter were enough to do it in. So we're basically just proposing to retreat back to the current, shoreline face of the coastal landform and stabilize what's left. There's an existing small deck. We're also proposing to relocate that a little further back on the other side of the plan, as you can see there. Current location's right here. There's existing stairway. We're not proposing to change that. Location. So the array is slightly taller than it was in 2014 to match the current conditions. There's considerably more tidal flow now with the Dead Neck project. So more water coming in and out, improving water quality. But we're also seeing the shoreline respond to that a bit. And so it tapers down in cross section. You can see at its tallest, it's 6 feet high, and then 5, and then 4. Most of the run is just 4 feet high, and then down to 3 at the very end, just following the landform down. It's not any taller than the existing landform. Be vegetated with native species, and the anchors hold it in place. Current design standards, we should see more like 15 to 20 years minimum design life. So hope not to be back here in a decade. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions Commissioner may have.
Great. Any questions from any of the members? It appears that this project is not intruding into the water at all, right? It's just retaining the bank.
Correct. It's entirely above mean high water and the highest tide of the year as well.
Okay. So I have no problem with that. I'd vote in favor. Anybody else like to speak to it?
I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
I'm in favor.
Make a- Okay, so we'll make a motion to accept that. Somebody would like to make that motion?
Make a motion to accept the proposal as outlined.
Second.
Thank you. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Mr. Wilkinson.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Next one, we have Lev Luden, 21 Scottsdale Road in Centerville, map 229, parcel 64. Applicant proposes to construct a 4x54 seasonal dock with a 6x18 seasonal L to provide berthing for the owner's pontoon boat. The pier is semi-prefabricated structure with wood and composite decking set in a middle frame. Sets of aluminum legs with 12-inch diameter stabilizing pads are provided at the end of each 6-foot pier section. Sections of the structure may be stored landward, most of the 2 pier sections, or in a suitable upland location in the off-season. Installation and removal are done by hand. The pier will connect to the end of the recently authorized slope access stairs. Okay, do we have somebody on this one? If not, Jay, can you, is this on the lake?
This is on Long Pond, sir, yeah. Parcel
Pond,
number
okay.
21. I also have the plans pulled up for you guys. One thing I will add, it's always hard with the GIS to measure distance because you don't know where the actual water line is with the tree foliage. It seems to be in comparison to this dock over here to the west. It looks to be about the same size when I do measure it on the GIS. And I'll pull up the plans for you guys now. All right, can everyone see that?
Yep.
So basically it's 54 feet. It extends from the shoreline here. The 54-foot mark from what I saw is a little bit past the water line. And then, the 18x6 dock doesn't really increase the overall length because they're doing it as an L section at the end. The Harbor Master Department doesn't have any concerns with navigation on this one on Long Pond.
No, it's a 9.9 pond, so it's not 9.9 horsepower, so not that much traffic. Okay. Anybody have any opinions on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
I'll make the motion to accept it as laid out.
All right.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that's unanimous. All right. Moving on. We have Michael Carasoto, United States Coast Guard, Barnstable, latitude 4135 by 49654 north, longitude 0702103.979 west. The proposed project involves repairs, removal, and replacement in existing aids to navigation structures in the middle. Structures in multiple municipalities. Two locations are in Barnstable, each consisting of remnant riprap mounds that once supported in-service navigation aids. Both riprap mounds will be permanently to below mean low water. Collier Ledge, isolated danger, VAIS, is remnant mound of riprap located in naturally shoaled area of Nantucket Sound. Southwest Rock Day Beacon is a failed aids to navigation near the south coast of Barnstable in Nantucket Sound. Okay, Jay, can you give some input on this?
Yeah, I'll be honest with the committee. I've been off this week, and this was the late addition to the agenda. Harbor Master Taylor, do you know anything about this? Or is there someone here to speak on it?
I believe someone's here.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Christine Perrin. I'm with the consulting firm McFarland Johnson. I'm also here with Dan Del Tufo with Appledore Marine Engineering, and we're representing the U.S. Coast Guard and assisting them with the permitting and design of this project. So
Okay.
we can refer to the plans if you'd like, or I can just give you a brief overview, but I think your agenda summary pretty much sums up the work that's being proposed. There are two existing mounds of riprap that were historically placed to support aids to navigation in the Sound. One no longer supports any type of structure on the riprap, and the second, the Southwest Rock Day Beacon, supports a failed structure. The riprap mounds and that failed structure will be removed. In 2004, the state geologist completed a study at the Collier Ledge site and determined that the origin of the rocks is in fact man-made. So there's no question that these were placed at some time in the past. Together, the proposed work will remove up to or approximately 27,000 square feet of stone at Collier Ledge and approximately 4,500 square feet of stone at the Southwest Rock Day Beacon.
Well, I have to say fantastic, because this has been a source of aggravation for many years. Jay, are you able to pull up a chart of that area?
Give me a minute, yeah.
I have one question. There's a rather large rock off the Southwest Rock, probably about 150 yards to the east of that Southwest Rock pile, and that particular rock has probably claimed more boats on a low tide as Southwest Rock did. I'm wondering, are you folks aware of that, or is that part of the project?
I'll let Dan speak to that if he has any information to share. Not sure if,
Good evening, everybody. We are contractually obligated to handle property claimed by the Coast Guard. To my knowledge, that rock is not the property of the Coast Guard.
Okay. Well, we'll have to have probably a further discussion, as far as will the aid to navigation delineating Southwest Rock, will that be removed as part of this project?
The superstructure spindle that is
No, there's-
toppled over.
No, there's a floating red marker, and that's probably to the south of the pile by, I don't know, maybe a quarter of a mile, but probably not even that far.
Knowledge that will remain.
Okay, that would certainly, if the pile goes and that other rock remains, then my concern would be if that was not marked at all, that would be problematic. So, okay, other members want to make comments on this?
Yeah, this is Greg. I'm not certain historically why all that riprap was put in there, but I presume it was to make a better platform for marking it for navigation. So I'm not sure what we're doing here relative to maintaining some sort of navigational awareness to those areas. Those are very dangerous areas, and so are we saying that we're not going to have any markings on them anymore? Notwithstanding, Paul, that rock to the east is very dangerous, and so that one is not included. I get it, but these other two areas, which the work is being done, represent significant hazards to boats in that area. So will it be less marked or more marked after this proposed work is done?
The intent of the work is to remove the hazard. As I recall from being out there, there are navigation buoys nearby. I'm sure those buoys are to remain. But once this work would be completed, those hazards in the waterway would be removed.
Okay, as you can tell, it's our concern, though, that historically they have been marked, and particularly the Hyannis Port, the red outside of Southwest Rock, that is a real pivot point for people coming out of Hyannis, going to the west. They will come out and turn on that. If that were to be removed, my fear would be people would start gravitating a little bit more inland, not realizing, that pivot point is there, and those other smaller rocks, not part of the Southwest Rock project, would come into play. And personally witnessed a 50 some odd foot boat hit one of those rocks, and there's not small by any stretch, but it's a natural thing when you're coming out of Hyannis headed to the west. If you were to head on to the old day marker of Southwest Rock, a lot of times it would put this other rock dead in your path, and if it's low tide, it really comes into play. So we'll stay on it with the harbor master, and we would insist that we have those markers remain in place. As far as Collier's Ledge, if it's a shoal anyway, so that should remain marked, and you may not get every single rock, but that ledge has certainly claimed a number of boats over the years. So I applaud the effort to remove these.
Mr. Chairman, I just had a quick question.
Sure.
just a little follow-up, just reading the language, so in repair, removal, and replacement of existing aids or navigation structures. So, you know, to me, it's a little vague of what we're doing, or maybe I just don't understand it clearly. And the description, removing permanently to below mean low water, to what level would it be below mean low water?
As to the, oh, sorry, Christine. As to the language repairs and removal, these two structures fall under a greater contract involving 8 or 10 other structures, some of which are to be removed, some of which are to be replaced. The two in front of you tonight are to be removed. The design depth of removal is based on a 7 feet below mean lower low water. We were indicated by Coast Guard personnel that is maintained for safe navigation.
Okay, so I think Greg's concern and my question would be, are we going right down to the bottom with these things and digging a hole and rolling the rest of it into the hole and never see them again? Or are they going to be picked up and moved out on a barge? Any idea how that is going to happen?
The intent is to feather into the natural mud line
Okay,
and remove the material offsite.
okay. Input from the Harbor Masters Department on this?
Jay can take this. Brian Taylor, Harbor Master. So we will work closely with the Coast Guard to ensure that after these two submerged riprap and objects are removed, we make sure we properly mark the area. So you don't have to worry about that. We will work closely with them. I think what's in front of you right now is just requesting to remove the riprap. But as far as the aids to navigation go, you know, we will work closely with the Coast Guard to make sure everything's properly marked.
Okay, thank you. All right, so and my final question would be, when would this take place?
The dates remain to be seen. This project must go through Coast Guard bidding process out to contractors. If I were to say, my best guess would be sometime 2025.
Okay. All righty, so as far as the Barnstable Waterways Committee is concerned, I would be in favor of it. Rest of the members, Gary?
Yeah, as long as Brian works with the Coast Guard after these are removed to make sure there's some kind of marking.
Absolutely, with that stipulation. Greg?
Yeah, I have the exact same stipulation, but it's you know, if that's in the form of a motion, it's not in the proposal. So you know, I feel very strongly that there should be some markings on there, and the harbor master says there will be. We just from the safe navigation perspective, there's probably nothing more important than having those be marked.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And Todd?
Be in favor.
Thank you. All righty, thank you, folks, for presenting that.
Great. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Susan Wright Rowland. Mooring transfer request was denied. Looks like is that Dam Pond, Jay? DP 14?
Yes, sir. Can you read it?
Yep. So denied DP 14 to her granddaughter Molly H. Rowland and WB West Bay 95 to her grandson Edward F.S. Rowland due to the death of her son, their father. Okay.
Yes, sir. So, you know, I have to, as mooring officer, I have to abide by the regulations, and unfortunately, we don't allow a transfer currently to skip a generation. The there was an, unlikely or uneventful death in the family. So the father was not able to inherit the mooring and pass it on to his, his son. So the grandmother is trying to, facilitate that transfer now. I'm okay with whatever the committee decides on this, but as mooring officer, technically, I have to deny it. I've got to bring it in front of the committee, and I'll leave it for you guys to decide.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here representing this request?
Yeah.
I'm also here. My name is Molly Rowland.
Okay.
And
All right.
I'm here. I'm Susie Wright Rowland, the grandmother who's trying to pull off the transfer.
Okay, thank you. So, for the committee members, we have done this in the past, and on similar circumstances with with somebody in the family passing, and we've had grandparents transfer down to a grandson. So, I would certainly think it's the spirit of the law, maybe not exactly to the letter by skipping, but there are circumstances. So I would be fine with this. Get thoughts from everybody else.
It's Greg. I'm in favor of the transfer as presented.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it looks like there's precedent, so that's fine.
Yeah, all right, thanks, Gary. Todd?
I'm absolutely in favor of the transfer.
Okay. All right, so the transfer is request is granted, and you need to get in touch with the Harbor Masters Department, Mrs. Rowland, and they will now have this information, and both of these moorings can get transferred in the family.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right.
you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, ladies.
Okay, moving on to old business, we have mooring regulations.
Yeah, nothing new to report here. We're just keeping this warm. Still waiting for the final approval from the town manager.
Okay. And on to the marina fees. I'll ask the harbor master to give us an update as to which direction we're going in with this.
Good evening, Brian Taylor, Harbor Master for the town of Barnstable. Can everyone see the proposed comparison between the current fees versus the updated proposed fees?
Is there any way you can make it larger?
I think in the bottom right-hand corner, Brian, there's a plus sign.
Okay, thank you. Is that better?
Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Okay, in front of you, you will see proposed fees for the Marina Enterprise Program for calendar year 2025. It's important to note this proposal is not a fee hearing. We talked about that a little bit in the workshop. A fee hearing for the 2025 calendar year fees will be held with the town manager. Although this date is subject to change, that fee hearing will be held on November 12th, 2024. There was always an opportunity for the public to comment after the fee hearing. The public comment period is usually 30 days. The town manager makes the final decision regarding proposed fee changes. I think that's important to note. I just want to be clear. This is, again, not a fee hearing. The proposed fees include fees changes to all aspects of the Marina Enterprise Program, including slip contracts, transient fees, electrical fees, and commercial offload fees. After careful consideration, adjustments were made to the existing fee proposal from what was presented at the original workshop and to the committee at the second workshop, which was held in August. We considered the following: determine the current proposed fees, status of a Marina Enterprise reserves, individuals' comments from users and slip holders, direction from the Waterways Committee, current fiscal year projected revenue versus expenses and capital improvement projects. After last month's meeting, it was requested by the committee chair to look at maintaining different fees at different marinas and different fees within the same marina. We believe that this new fee structure will be implemented in a phased approach, and it will help fix the flat fees versus per foot fees issues that we brought forward. Moving forward, we will most likely see increases to fees in the next few calendar years. However, these fees will be phased in over the next few years. The projected fee increase should generate revenue of approximately $30,000 to $35,000. It's important to note those exact numbers are just an estimate. Many factors such as usage and slip contract renewals, who renews, who doesn't, are taken into consideration, as well as weather. These proposed fee increases do not offset the current planned increase in debt services that I brought forward. We may need to make adjustments to services, budgets, ongoing capital improvement projects. So what I present forward with you right now, it is important to note that we were anticipating about a $75,000 increase due to debt services for various capital improvement projects. These fee increases do not offset those capital improvement projects and the debt services increases that we're estimating. I'm going to go through it. Bismore Park will go to the $190 a foot. Continue to have the 30-foot minimum, and that $190 a foot is for a resident and $220 a foot for a non-resident. Barnstable Harbor, slip 1 through 34 will go to $175 a foot. A new 27-foot minimum will come into effect, and it will be $175 a foot for residents and $205 a foot for non-residents. Slips 35 through 53 will go to a per foot charge of $135 a foot with a new 21-foot minimum. That 135 foot is for a resident and 165 for a non-resident. Slips 54 through 70 will be a per foot charge of $110 for a resident with a new 16-foot minimum and a 140-foot charge for a non-resident. Small craft will go from $782 to $900 of a flat rate. That will be the same. And then that $900 will be for a resident and $1,100 for a non-resident. Gateway Marina will go to a per foot charge. There will be $135 a foot with a 21-foot new minimum and $160 a foot for a non-resident. Prince Cove Marina will go from $177.25 a foot, keep the 20-foot minimum. It will go to $180 a foot, keep the 20-foot minimum, and that $180 is for a resident, $210 for a non-resident. However, we will exclude the 5 slips along the bulkhead, and they will have no minimum again for those slips that are along the bulkhead. We will remove the separate charges for different marinas like Prince Cove, Barnstable Harbor, and Gateway. Currently, we remove the docks in Barnstable Harbor. We'll initiate a flat fee across the board for off-season rates, which will be 9-foot commercial a month per foot commercial a month, $8 a foot commercial a month and $9 a foot a month recreational. So the main marina that we have dockage at in the off-season is Prince Cove Marina. This $1.75 a foot a month will change, and there will be a flat rate across the board for all the marinas. There are other marinas like Bismore Park that we do have some off-season storage of recreational and commercial vessels. Again, they're in the water, and that fee has always been the $9 a foot a month for recreational and commercial of the $8 a foot a month. Also proposing to go up on recreational transient dockage from $3 a foot a day to $3.25 a day per foot a day, and that is from May 1 to October 31st. The daily electrical charge will go from $10 for a 30 amp to also include a 50 amp, which we do have at some of our marinas, to a $15 daily charge. The off-season rate, why you see 2 different fees here as being proposed, is in the off-season, again, when we have some storage of boats at Bismore, they do plug into heaters, space heaters, And so that off-season charge and in-season charge is different. And we're proposing to go from $500 to $600 for a 30 amp service, and from $725 to $825. And that's in season, which is May 1 to October 31st. November 1st, again, it will be a little bit different, from $500 to $650 for 30 amp, and from $725 to $875 for 50 amp. The offload fee will go from a per use charge, and this is at Bismore Park Marina, from $35 to $40. And we do allow individuals to pay 1 calendar year fee where they can pay up front for unlimited usage, and that will go from $650 to $700. Be happy to take any questions from the committee at this time, or go through the slips and the fees a little slower if you'd like.
All right, thanks, Brian. One of the things that came up with Barnstable before was you had 2 different 25-foot boats paying 2 different rates. One was on one side and I guess one was on the other. Has that parity been addressed, and what are we looking at?
So it has not. And so you still have different, from what I got from the understanding from the Waterways Committee, is they wanted me to present fees that were different fees in the same marina. I kept a different slip location in the phased approach here, with how we charge different fees for each kind of different area. You know, we looked at square footage, we looked at the length of the dock, we looked at, you know, multiple aspects. That kind of number and getting them closer together has been difficult. And like I said, I'm anticipating we'll do fee increases over the next few years, where we can get slip 35 through 53, as well as 54 through 70, closer to 1 through 34. But I believe, after consulting with the Waterways Committee, listening to the members and the users, it was best to keep these areas separate and have different stages for each of the locations. We did change some of the minimums. But again, you know, there is different square footage in different locations. Access, although it is all the same through a gangway, individuals don't have electrical in some aspects of the marina. As we move forward, that may be something we can install, so we can get some of these slip fees closer. But in this first phase approach, I think our goal was to convert, you know, these flat rate fees to per foot fees, and that's what we accomplish here. We do have a slight increase across the board, some more than others, although I think our goal was met. And we do have a slight increase. And again, I think we look at the budget, we looked at the projects that are coming up, and then reevaluate next year.
Okay.
But to answer your question is no, that does not fix that.
Okay. Questions from other members?
I think
Mr. Walentis, I think you're all broken up.
In a situation where there is no win-win.
Yeah, Todd, we lost you on the beginning of your comments.
I think I'll manage even more so than necessary. I think it's a little better.
Yeah, go ahead.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I said, I think the harbor master's done a wonderful job of extending the proverbial olive branch in a situation where it's a lose-lose, but just because the fee increases have been neglected for so many years doesn't mean we can turn a blind eye to it. And I think even in the case of these proposed fees for 2025, I think we could all find some areas where those fees could go up a little bit. You know, any sort of a dock in our coveted waters for $110 a foot is hard to imagine. And it doesn't benefit me in any way. In fact, it's to my detriment with Prince Cove, but I understand the need, and I understand the need for improvements with infrastructure. So I applaud the proposal, and I actually think it should be a little bit higher so that we can continue to offer some great facilities and grow with the demand.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think Brian's approach is good. I still think we have a big shortfall for the budget. And some of the users in the area are looking for major improvements. I don't know if that's going to be a realistic goal in the short term. I agree that in some areas they could go up a little bit more, but I mean, you're in the harbor. That's my opinion, but these are more than fair.
Is there an opportunity to look at the non-resident a little bit more? It seems that even though it's proportionate, their increase, that maybe as being non-residents, their increase should be a little less proportionate than for the residents. We have such a limited resource that I don't know. I struggle with the non-resident fees. I definitely.
Yeah, to speak to that, I did take a look at that, and you know, Barnstable Harbor right now, as you can see, was 171 to 196. We're going basically consistent across the board, $30 foot over. You know, I can really get into the math with it, but I believe this adjustment does speak to some of the non-resident. I'd be happy to take another look at it if you'd like, though.
Brian, do you know how many non-residents have slips in that harbor?
Off the top of my head, I don't. Pam, unless you do know off the top of your head, I would say it's a very small amount across the board.
Yeah, I don't know if that would really increase the amount of revenue at that point.
No, I think it's a very minimal impact to the fee structure and the revenue generated by adjusting that. Although there would be some impact. We have more residents, I should say, that have slips than non-residents. I can assure you that. I don't know the exact number.
And is there any consideration for, as you folks in your office work through the list and open up slips to new slip holders, do they come in at this proposed fee structure, or do we just introduce them to where we need the fee structure to be?
No, I mean, that's not what I proposed. They would come in at the existing fee structure. This would be a calendar year 2025. And again, we could reassess this year and look at the future projects. Mr. Everson and Mr. Schrammick were not wrong in saying that there may be some projects that we currently have ongoing that we might have to stop or pivot from. We might have to make adjustments to the budget right now, operational budget, some of the services that we provide. There are things we might need to change. I look at it as like there's things we'd like to do for operations, as you know, example would be Prince Cove, you know, moving the office in that location, adjusting the Chapter 91 to bring out A and B dock. Those are some things we might have to take another look at, decide not to do. And then there's things we can't not do, like the improvements to the bulkhead at Bismore, improvements to the bulkhead in Barnstable Harbor. But we can certainly take a look at the budget and cut back in some funding. For example, Barnstable Harbor, we've been building new docks in Barnstable Harbor. We've had quite an extensive plan over the last 3 years. We've dumped about $50,000 a year into the docks. And maybe we cut back at that a little bit and do a little more patchwork on the docks than build new docks. There are ways we can save money to try to offset and complete some of these projects.
Okay. Well, I also applaud Brian for working hard on this. This is kind of like the Rubik's Cube that is not easy to solve. And after our workshop and hearing from people in consideration of the future, it's a balancing act, and I think you're doing a great job with it, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Everson, I just want to bring up what the final fee proposal would look like without the comparison. Is that okay?
Sure, yep, go ahead.
And can you see that?
Yep,
I'll try to zoom in as well. It's tough to get it all on one page, but. Okay. No changes here. I just wanted to make sure that everyone saw the new proposed fees on a final fee proposal sheet, which is what I'd like to present to the town manager for the fee hearing for the calendar year Marina Enterprise Program fee structure.
okay. I have to ask you in Barnstable Harbor, we received some correspondence from the Fishermen's Alliance, and they're asking basically to don't forget them, and it's, it's hard for the commercial fisheries. How many commercial boats do we have in Barnstable? I know.
Approximately 1, 2, I would say 7 or 8 at this time that are associated with the commercial industry. Although that number can change based on what comes through the wait list with slip offerings.
Okay, but traditionally, usually when you come down and you enter the harbor, those along the bulkhead, those are the first like 6, 7 berths that you see, correct?
That's correct. Not all of them, though. There are some smaller skiffs in the area, one in a small craft, one down in the Millway section. Just because it's not all the larger boats, but primarily those are the charter fishing boats. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And do they pay the same, they pay a resident or non-resident, whatever
That's
the case may
correct.
be?
So right now, through the wait list, we offer the slip to an individual, and they would either pay the resident or non-resident slip charge. I think in the future here, once we get through this slip fee schedule, our Marina Enterprise fee schedule, I think we should take a look at the regulations and some of preserving some of the commercial slips for commercial usage. Although that would be a change to how we operate right now, that would be a change to the wait list. But I think that we should explore further conversations with the Fishermen's Alliance and the public and the Waterways Committee to take a look at how to preserve some of these slips for the charter fishing and commercial fishing industry into the future. But right now, our fee structure does not separate between commercial and resident and non-resident for a slip contract. We do that for transient though.
Right, and on Bismore, same thing between commercial, even though it's heavier commercial than recreational, no differential between those two?
Again, only for the transients slips that we have, but for the
Yep.
slip contracts, we only have a resident and non-resident charge at this time.
Okay, thanks. Gary, you want to chime in on that since you're our Barnstable Harbor guy?
Well, at this point, I think Brian's done a phenomenal job trying to get some revenue and keep everybody kind of happy, based upon what the fee structure will be. I'm concerned about long-term, but I guess we can address that going forward. I mean, I would love to see some security gates and some cameras, but again, you need revenue for that. So this is fine. I mean, I walked all those docks, I did measurements, everything else, so I'm very familiar with all the differences in the square footage and the slips, so I think this is more than fair.
Okay,
I can stop sharing my screen and we can go back to the agenda. I believe we do have some correspondence and I'm not sure. Looks like we have 25 participants. I'm not sure if you want to open up to any of the individuals here.
okay. So we have correspondence from Save Our Fleet, Preserve Barnstable Harbor, Barnstable Harbor Marina Slip Holder Nancy Trafton comments. Barnstable Harbor Marina slip holder Cornelius, Fisherman's Alliance letter that I referred to, and comments from Laurel DeLong. Any of these folks in attendance on this meeting would like to speak to this? Maybe you can ask Pam or Jay, do we have any of these, look like any of these folks lined up to speak?
There's certainly a lot of people attending the meeting.
Okay, I'll just open it up to anybody in attendance would like to speak to the marina fee proposal.
Could I just ask if Jay could go back to that screen so we can see the people? If anybody's having trouble
Yeah.
unmuting, we can assist them with that. I can't quite see it.
Okay,
all at the
thank you.
same time.
I think you have to stop sharing your screen, Jay.
Is this open for comment now?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Charlie Coakley. I attended the last meeting and I spoke briefly about my concerns about the then proposed amount that they were discussing. And I'd like to thank everyone involved with making a very careful and considerate decision on the increased fees. I still believe that there are some concerns in the slip area that I'm in with the low tide situation, but given the fact that the increase is only about 15%, if I did the math right quickly, I'd like to thank you very much for your consideration and not doubling it like it was discussed at the workshop meeting. So thank you.
All right, sir, thank you. Do we have anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Could you please clarify the 5 bulkhead slips that you're referencing at Prince Cove Marina?
So there are 2 bulkhead slips on B dock, 2 on C dock, although 1 is barely used. And then there is 1 on A dock. The other one to the left side, as you come down the gangway, has plenty of water. It's offset from the bulkhead. So there's 5.
Okay, so this doesn't take into consideration the 5 slips that cannot put a 20-foot boat on them.
No, it only considers the 5 bulkhead slips. That's correct. It still has the 20-foot minimum across the different aspects of the marina, including the smaller slips.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Brian, just to clarify those 5 bulkhead slips. So if someone has I think the case was we had a boat with a 13-foot whaler that was in there. That'll go per foot.
No minimum.
No minimum, right? Okay. Thank you. Do we have anybody else who'd like to speak?
Yes, if possible. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Hi, this is Mark Hansen. I'm in Barnstable Harbor. Quick question about the just how it's going to be graduated. So 2025 in theory would start the proposed fees or as proposed. And is this going to be a yearly review? Is there a cap at which where are you trying to be eventually? I mean, are we talking a 5-year where it's 15, 15, 15, and you see where I'm going with that? Do you have any information on that?
I do think it needs to be a phased approach to ease into this. I think we were kind of at the 190 cap, although budgets change. We're not exactly sure what we're looking at for the cost of capital improvement projects or the amount of revenue we need to raise. We have some sort of projection, not exactly hard numbers yet. I have a hard number for next year to discuss with the finance director, which was about that $75,000 mark. So I think if we look at it from year to year, I was thinking more like a 3-year increase, and we'd evaluate every year, but I think the cap would be around that 190. And so you may see other slips within the different marinas increase and, you know, not at Bismore, but I'm projecting somewhere around the 190 mark. Although, the same, let it be known, like, I still think we're gonna look at doing separate charges throughout Barnstable Harbor. So, you know, 1 through 53, maybe 190, and then 35 through excuse me, 1 through 34, maybe with the 190, and then 35 through 50 feet, 53, maybe a different charge, another step down, exactly where we land. It's kind of difficult to put a number on, well, what's the different rate they should pay exactly.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So, my only other question is, you know, have you corresponded with any other of the boards in the town? Because there has been talk, you know, whether it's through LCPC or whether it's the plan, not the planning board necessarily, but certainly in the projected future of, say, Bismore Park, things like that, that in fact may be a complete overhaul there, and not just where really that becomes more town money versus just waterways money or that type of money. You know, is that currently your biggest capital project at this point? You know, is that something that, you know, could be shared with the town if they're really looking at sort of redeveloping that area?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Of course, we interact with the other departments and divisions throughout the town on a daily basis. And, you know, the town, through planning and development, has it's not called a harbor master plan, but it's harbor space master planning, currently looking at the downtown in the waterfront area. But that's a great question. Could there be potential monies through the general fund and grants as we discussed? Sure. We're not exactly sure what that would look like. What I can tell you right now is that there is a small amount of money that comes in for the charges that the Marina Enterprise Program pays for, such as electricity, throughout downtown Bismore, and that's about $30,000 a year. So there could be some offset from that, but those numbers are to be determined in the, you know, when the project would move forward. We did get the Economic Seaport Development Grant, which was around $1 million, exactly $1 million for Bismore for the refurbishing of the bulkhead. We were leaning towards replacement, but we met with multiple engineers, which gave us an evaluation that the bulkhead after refurbishment could last 20 to 25 years. So we went with that recommendation at this time. So there is grant money. There could be potential offset from the general fund at certain locations. Although I think it's important to note that when it comes to the slips, which look like that could be a massive revamp, I believe that the users and the money that goes into the Marina Enterprise should pay for the slips themselves, but that's my personal opinion. You know, the bulkhead you could question because it gets used by general public, people walking back and forth to the ferries and visiting the downtown area. But I do believe that the slips, which the slip holders use and the transient members use, should be paid for, but it's a large number. So whether or not we have some offsets through dredge funding, through grant funding or offsets from the general fund is to be determined.
I just had one last question. Will there be any changes to any of the, like, say in Barnstable Harbor, you know, we have the boats coming, you know, by trailer. We have one launch that essentially gets no revenue next to Mattakees Wharf, and we have the other one where there's parking. You know, are those fees going to remain the same? Is there an offset there potentially? You know, they're using the same water, they're going out to the same locations and things like that. Just a curiosity.
Another great question. Those different facilities are not associated with the Marina Enterprise Program. They're not maintained by the Marina Enterprise Program, the general fund. So the revenue that we get through these subcontracts, the transient fees, the merchandise we sell, you know, the transient visitors, the electrical, the offload fees, all goes back into the Marina Enterprise Program. It doesn't go back out into the general fund. So for the example of the two boat ramps that we have, Blish Point Boat Ramp is a state boat ramp. We maintain it. The revenue that comes from Blish Point, the state doesn't take. We could put back into the facility as well as manage our staff. but there's potential that we could adjust those fees accordingly, depending on, you know, what we do to that facility, how much it costs to run the facility with staffing. There is a potential those fees could adjust. We don't currently have a fee to use the Matakees or Millway ramp at this time. I don't foresee a fee in the future because again, you'd have to collect that fee, you'd have to have staffing down there. And does it really make sense, right? As the revenue you generate help maintain the facility, and I don't think it would. I think that the amount of revenue that you'd get would just possibly help maintain the staffing that you have. I also think that it's nice to have low fees at some of these boat ramps. It's nice to have not a charge to launch your boat, to get your boat out there. But you know, there's a potential that anything like that and fees could get charged for some of the usage of those facilities. Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, do we have anybody else who would like to speak? All right, moving on. I'm not hearing anybody else. What would you, Brian, as far as the Waterways Committee, would you like us to endorse your plan as you bring it forward?
Yeah, I'd like a vote
Okay, we can.
if possible, but that's extremely, that's up to you.
Yeah, happy to do it. Okay, so I'll support a motion to accept the Harbor Master's proposal for fee structures for 2025 and his bringing it forward to the town manager.
So moved.
Okay, thanks, Todd.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I think maybe we stepped on each other. Gary?
Aye.
Okay, and Greg?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda, we have, I believe, the Harbor Master's report.
Yep, Brian Taylor, Harbor Master again. Been a busy season. It's still busy. We had this storm the past weekend. We had a number of calls. Katua dredging is set to begin here in early October. They're going to be dredging the rest of the section of the channel on the Katua cut side that they didn't get to last year. So that's good news. Moving forward, we're wrapping up the season. Barnstable Harbor docks will be getting hauled out on November 7th. We'll start dismantling them right around the 1st of November, removing the water and electrical lines and getting those docks ready to be stored in the field. We do have some patch up work to do to some of the docks. Just today, we brought 4 of the 5 new docks over to Barnstable Harbor and stored them that way as slip holders leave their slips and end their contracts. We can get in there before the docks get hauled out and replace some of these docks, and we can store the older ones. We're going to leave a few next year just in case we have to repurpose them, but the rest of them will be auctioned off as we did this past year. Jay, where are you at for mooring permits? I know Jay had another historic year for mooring permits. I want to say it was just over 2,600 mooring permits, correct?
Yeah, we broke 2,600 this year for the first time in the history of Barnstable. Last year we did 2,566, and I'm at 2,618 right now.
So we're working hard to move these people off the wait list, efficiently utilize all the mooring field areas. You know, we've adapted and gone to the 21st century here and got an online software system, which helps us manage the wait list easier. It helps us offer moorings quicker. We did, through the Waterways Committee, some regulation changes to the moorings and marinas to try to speed up the process, giving people an equal and fair opportunity to respond, but also being able to move on. We used to have to send letters in the mail and then wait for responses. And at this point, I think it's 5 business days. Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, that we have to wait before we can move on, which has sped up the process. We do still see a lot of people sitting at the top of those lists that are renewing and not accepting either a slip or a mooring. I know in the future here, we'd like to take a look at the marina regulations as it pertains to commercial dockage. That may be something we look at. And then again, I think it's always good every year to take a look at the mooring regulations. Although they've been held up, sounds like we may have to have another hearing in regards to the regulations You know, I always think it's good every year to take a look at some of the things we can do to improve. But all in all, I know we have a lot of participants tonight, and we did our best to do outreach and send letters in the mail and email everybody to try to get the outreach. We had multiple meetings in regards to the fee schedule, so I appreciate everyone on the Waterways Committee, their time and their efforts and their comments. But other than that, we're looking forward to a little bit quieted time of the year, although we'll prep and get ready for the off season. And then, believe it or not, right when we hit right after Christmas, we're already getting ready for next year with doing the maintenance on the boats and getting them prepped and ready to go. So that's all I have tonight.
Great, thank you, Brian. Jay, anything else from you'd like to contribute from the harbor master report?
That's going to cover it, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you. Any of the members have any other business they'd like to bring forward? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. All right, well, good meeting, everybody. Thank you very much.